You know that feeling you get when you need to have a tough conversation with a parent, deliver critical feedback to a staff member, or unite a divided team? That knot in your stomach that says, I'm a great educator, but am I communicating this the right way? I've been there. Year after year, I'd write the same goal in different words. Connection, crucial conversations, conflict resolution, how to deal with difficult people. I'm Crystal Atkinson, and after more than 20 years teaching and leading in public education, I've cracked the code on the communication skills that matter most, and I'm sharing them all with you. Whether you're dealing with resistant staff, anxious parents, or complex community dynamics, this podcast will give you the strategies and confidence to handle it all. Together, we'll explore how to connect with people who challenge you most, inspire your team to do their best work, and navigate conflict without losing sleep. Because here's what I've learned. Leadership isn't just about vision and strategy. It's about the conversations that happen every single day. And those conversations, they can be taught, practiced, and mastered. Welcome to Vibrant Leadership for Educational Leaders. Let's transform the way you communicate. Hello, Vibrant Leader. Welcome to episode 7, the final podcast of the 2025 series, where we have been focusing all on communication. What you wouldn't know is most of this material has been taken from individual profiling that I do one-to-one with clients. So generally what happens is we meet, I go through a full disc profile so we know exactly what your strengths and blind spots are, and then create a plan moving forward. That combined with a communication workshop where we break apart the different elements of communication. So I hope these first 6 episodes resonated with you and you had some takeaways. You're finding it a little bit more predictable, hopefully, and a few strategies so that you're able to connect with, that tricky person at work, at home, in the community, whomever you come across. Today, we're going to shift from the verbal expressive language into the non-verbal, because what you aren't saying matters. And we know this, but sometimes it's tricky to implement. Sometimes we aren't aware of our biases. We aren't aware of what power we actually hold as leaders. And truly, it doesn't matter whether you are leading from the middle or the front. So I'm Crystal Atkinson. I'm your host. If you are new here, I have worked in public education for well over 20 years in a variety of teacher roles, teacher leader roles. I was a vice principal in a K through 6 school as well as a 7 to 9 school. I did a short position as a division principal, and I'm currently working as an instructional coach with a public school division. So I've witnessed this, I've done this, I've made the mistakes, and I've learned from it all. So I'm hoping that this helps you today. So what you aren't saying matters. How well can you read people? How well can you read people, my friend? Because that is going to make or break how you're able to lead people. And it's something that we don't learn about in our master's program. I did a master's in educational leadership and school improvement. And if my memory serves me right, I would say we spent exactly 0 minutes developing the soft skills. And the difference from being a master teacher to being an effective school leader, again, it doesn't matter whether that leadership position is from the front in a school administrative position, or if you're more from the side or the middle. So if you're in a student support role, if you're in an instructional coach role, if you're in a role that is not in the classroom, but is also not the principal, assistant principal, you are looked at as a leader and people look at you differently, and your skill set shifts. It shifts from needing to be able to create an engaging, dynamic, learning-focused lesson to being able to connect with people and support them and move them forward. So we often enter into these leadership roles thinking that everybody else is growth driven. Everybody else really reflects on their practice and wants feedback and wants to learn. And then we learn that, ooh, that actually is not the case. So let's talk about some of those soft skills that we need when we take a formal leadership role, because now you are leading people. You are no longer in charge of that specific skill set. So I also work with people in the medical field, and they talk about the same thing where they were like, I was super specialized. I was the best nurse at this or the best whatever, fill in the blank. And then I took this management position and none of that mattered anymore. And I found that the people who hired me thought because I was good at the first job, I'd be good at the second job. And the people whom I was interacting with were really, really difficult, and it kind of caught me off guard. So what you aren't saying matters. We've spent 6 episodes talking about what to say to different people, how you can say it, but let's talk about the nonverbal. I'm going to do my very best to describe this. I realize this is a podcast, so you are listening. I am going to lean into trying to describe this really well. It's something that we do one-to-one in a workshop setting, but it is so important that I just would be neglect to not include this in this series this year. So non-verbal body language. The first thing we need to keep in the front of our mind is the actual sound quality or pitch of our voice. So generally speaking, what I find when I observe leaders is for females, especially when we get nervous, our pitch goes too high. It goes too squeaky. So what you need to do is before you go into a conversation with somebody where you know your heart may be racing, your tummy may be turning, and you're just nervous about it, I want you to practice talking through out loud orally what you anticipate the conversation is going to go like. Consider some sentence stems that you want to say. Consider the direction or the path that you want that conversation to go. So when you create sentence frames in an English class for students to get started, or essay frames, I've got some English teacher in me here, I want you to think of that in the terms of your meeting, and then orally practice it out loud and really drop your voice. Okay? Make sure that that pitch is not too high if you're a woman. If you are a man, you need to be aware of how demanding your voice can be if you already have a deep voice. Because for people who have experienced trauma or have experienced just negative interactions with male leaders in the past, it can become really intimidating. And instantly what happens is when the brain feels threatened, it goes to flight, fight, or freeze. And the person you're talking to, if you are too loud and too deep, they're going to go into survival mode. They're going to stop hearing what you have to say, and they're just going to shut down and become very reactive. And we don't want that, right? We want the person who we're talking to be open and receptive to what we have to hear. And we don't realize just how powerful that pitch is. When we consider our non-verbal body language, the next skill I want you to practice is mirroring their physical body language. So the word mirroring is literally what you're going to do. You are going to mirror that person, not in a creepy, awkward way. We're not, doing a drama little exercise. But if they are leaning in, I want you to slightly lean in. If they're picking up one hand, I want you to pick up one hand. Okay? It's going to feel really awkward at first, but try it. Try it first in a non-threatening situation. So with friends, when you're in a really deep conversation, or with students as you're trying to figure out what they're doing, if they lean to the right, you're going to match them. Mirroring signals to the person on the other end that you are safe. You are not threatening to them. It becomes a way that you're able to reduce what their brain is paying attention to because it's just a mirror of what they're doing, and they're able to think about their thought process with greater clarity. So you're going to practice connecting physically through mirroring what the person across from you do. Now, that whole across from, remember, I'm sure in a previous episode, I talked about the importance of not being directly straight across from somebody when we're in a confrontational type situation. We're going to be more effective if we're at a circular table or if we're more perpendicular side to side, because when people feel threatened, again, what happens? They go into brainstem. They start to shut down, and we don't want that. We want to open lines of communication. So when we are more side to side, that's why walking with teenagers, your spouse, anything like that is going to be far more effective than sitting across from them when you're having a difficult conversation. That's why when we go for a drive with somebody, we just open up, because that side to side, we don't have direct eye contact, and direct eye contact in the mammal world is threatening, right? So we want to make sure that we're reducing those physical barriers wherever possible. Consider the room that you're in. Are you at a desk? Is there any way you can bring your chair to be beside your desk? You don't want a desk between you and the person you're talking to, because what that signals is I'm more important than you. What I have to say is more important, and it's going to trump you. And that hierarchy shuts down, again, those lines of communication. So consider removing that desk if you can between you and the person, and sitting more in alignment with the person you're talking to. Gender is also really important. If you have a male-female conversation, the male, just from a societal perspective, automatically demands more attention. So if you are a man, you need to be really cognizant that you aren't overpowering the female in that conversation. Height. I am short. Okay, I am 5'3". I am a short adult. When you are a really tall adult, you also need to be aware that there is a hierarchy just with height. So when we consider as a teacher, when you have students who are way shorter than you, teachers in Div 1 often are really good about sitting down on a chair, kneeling on the floor, sitting on the floor. But what they're trying to do is get rid of that hierarchy so that they can be face to face with the person they're talking to. And again, it opens up lines of communication. So if you're having a really important face-to-face conversation with somebody, and you are a tall person, find a way to grab a couple chairs, sit in the foyer, sit out front on a bench, but find a way to minimize that height differential. That, again, is going to open up lines of communication. Put your phone on silent and out of sight. It has to be out of sight. That's the other thing during meetings. When we look at all different kinds of articles, research papers around that distracting device, it communicates to the person in front of you that they are not important, that you have something else that you're going to pay attention to over the person in front of you. So let your administrative assistant or your secretary know that, you know what, I'm in a conversation right now. So record any phone calls or defer them to somebody else if appropriate. But when you have an important conversation to be had, when you're meeting with a teacher or a parent or a student, put the phone on silent, put it in a drawer. You're fine. Make sure anybody who needs to get in touch with you knows the phone number to the school or your organization so that they can still get in touch with you. But generally, if you're looking over at your phone, the moment you break eye contact, you've lost them. You've told them that they aren't as important as what's happening elsewhere. All of these nonverbal body languages skills are going to go very, very far with you. The very last part of this episode that I want to help you with is shifting energy. So have you ever walked into a room and you just felt tension. You're like, oh no, something's going on and I don't know what's happening. Or you walk in a room and it is like vibrant, right? Like, what does vibrant mean? Pulsating with life. And the moment you walk into that room, you're like, whoa, this is the place. This is where I want to be. Sometimes we need to shift. We need to shift from chaos to calm. We need to shift our staff from apathy to empowerment. We need to shift energy. And as a leader, you have the power to shift that energy. So you need to begin by bringing that energy you want the space to contain. If you want that space to be exciting and vibrant, pulsating with life, you need to raise your energy up, raise it up before you enter into the room. So some simple activities like close your doors, close the blinds if you need to in your office, but jump, run on the spot, put your arms above your head. Put your arms above your head, pump them up and down 10 times. You're going to instantly be adding oxygen through your entire body just by doing that. Then put your arms into the Superman's pose. First, you can put them a Y above your head, and then you're going to take your hands and put them on your hips, stand nice and tall, feet planted firmly into the ground. You're going to instantly feel an energy shift through your body simply by arms above head, pump them 10 times, arms up in a Y, and then put your hands down on your hips, standing nice and tall. When you enter that room, people are going to shift towards you because your energy is going to be in a very powerful situation. When you need to bring energy into a room, you want to be moving. You want to move through the room. If you're in a staff meeting or anything like that where you can walk, or if you have a bit of a stage presence, moving to one side, making eye contact, moving to the other, making eye contact over there, that's going to help you shift that energy from that apathy to empowerment, from meh to super excited. If you need to shift energy to command attention, you need people to pay attention to what you're saying because something is really important. You're going to do a little bit of the opposite. You still want to oxygenate your body, and the arms above head and pumping them 10 times is a really great way to do that. Standing with your hands on your hip in that Superman position, really great way to align your energy in your body. But then when you're standing in front of your staff, don't pace, don't fidget, don't ramble. Plant your feet, don't move. You can use your arms and your hands and the intonation in your voice to draw people in, but they need to come to you when you are commanding attention. And they're going to do that by you not moving. Also, when you need to command attention, do you notice how I slowed my speech? That was very intentional. You also often drop the pitch of your voice, just ever so slightly. That is going to help whether you're leading a big meeting or you're sitting around a table. By not moving and fidgeting, by dropping the pitch of your voice and speaking slightly slower, people are going to lean in. So from chaos to calm, ground your energy first. Before you enter any room, you're going to first get control over your physical body. And the way you most effectively can do this is to calm your breath by taking several deep breaths. And you're going to inhale nice and deeply all the way to your toes. They say 5 to 10 breaths will reset your brainstem. When you reset the brainstem, you're resetting your heart rate, your body temperature, your respiratory system, everything in your body kind of goes back to neutral. So we want to take 5 to 10 deep breaths. Some people like box breathing, so you're going to breathe in with a count of 4, you're going to hold it a count of 4, and breathe out a count of 4. You find the breathing pattern that works for you. But by practicing that breathing, you're going to reset yourself. Feet planted firmly on the ground so that you can feel the strength of the floor, the earth underneath you. And when you go into a situation where emotions may be high, your energy that is calming and stable is going to help ground other people. You're modeling what you expect. And then your last strategy when you're leading from chaos to calm is to lead with your breath. So before you answer, you're just going to take a deep breath, and then your reply goes out on that breath. Okay. All of these tips, you're going to want to go back, replay this, share this with somebody else in leadership. Again, whether you're leading from the middle or the front, these are strategies that are going to help move your practice forward. If you want more of a one-to-one overview of how this impacts you, about how you show up, you want to reach out to me at crystalcoachingconsulting@outlook.com, and we can set up a full one-to-one leadership coaching session where I will go through your entire profile. I will help you identify what your strengths are, what your blind spots are, what motivates you. We will look at your leadership power profile so we know the type of leader you are, that you're going to lean into those strengths, and which areas are your blind spots. So you either want to strengthen them or you want to hire somebody with strengths where you have blind spots. We can do that one-to-one. In a group setting, we can go through and do an entire communication session with either your leadership team or your whole staff, because everybody needs these skills and they are not taught in a master's program. I have no idea why they're not, but they are not. Coming from that perspective of how can we support the people around us. So again, that's crystalcoachingconsulting@outlook.com. Let me know how I can support you, and be sure to follow me wherever you are on social media. I'm vibrant_leadership on Instagram, and Crystal Atkinson everywhere else you can find me on socials. Go make today amazing. My friend, your work truly makes a difference in the world. We will see you in the new year.